Hey, math friends. So our learning target today is I can do all the skills that we've done with integers, basically. So we're going to review the integers system. So remember, integers are numbers that are on a number line. They're whole numbers that are positive, but they're also negative. They go to infinity in both directions. So basically, we're just eliminating anything that has like a part to it, like a decimal or a mixed number. So that's our integer number system. We can do all sorts of things with that. We can add them, we can subtract them, we can find the absolute value, and so on. So that's what we're going to review today. So we're going to start with comparing alligator mouth problems. So this we already did earlier. This was our first unit. So just a quick review on that. Reminder that these bars mean absolute value. We learned that in the first unit. So it just means how far away are we from 0? So absolute value of -9 would be +9. Remember, you have to get them on the bars first. Absolute value of -5 would be +5. And then we compare. Which number is bigger? 9 is. So 9 is greater than 5. Alligator eats the biggest number. Reminder to get it out first. Next problem. This 10 right here is not in an absolute value bar, so it's just like the equivalent of saying $10. However, on the right-hand side, when we go to compare, this is the absolute value bar, so we're asking how far away from 0 is -10. And we would just say it's 10 units away. It's the equivalent of basically saying if your friend lives 10 houses away from you to the left, meaning negative, how many houses away does your friend live? They live 10 houses away. We wouldn't say they live -10 houses away from you. So it's just direction. Which direction are we going in? So how far away is that? 10. So on this example, we would say equal to. No bars here, so it's just the integer 10. And then make sure we assess how far away from 0 on the right. Cool. Next problem down here. What's the absolute value of 3? How far away from 3? We would say 3. What's the absolute value of -6? We would say 6. 6 houses away from me, so the left direction. However, this sign right here means opposite. So then we would take the opposite of that, which is greater, 3. So alligator is greater. We would say 3 is greater than -6. Next problem here. No absolute value bars at all. So we're just asking which one is closest to 0. And you could think of this as if you owe $3 and you owe $5. Which one's better? Which one's closest to 0? We would say greater than. All right, so that was our very first unit on what we call comparing integers. Sometimes we have an absolute value in there. The next unit we did after that was talking about the coordinate plane. We talked about some vocabulary that's involved in the coordinate plane, and then we talked about graphing. So the first example here says to identify the 4 quadrants. We talked about that the 4 quadrants make a capital letter C. So these are the 4 quadrants, 1, 2, 3, 4 in a C formation. Done, the 4 quadrants. Identify the X and Y axis. We said the YMCA. If we do the YMCA song, we'd put our hands up in that Y formation. That's my Y axis. Then by default, this has to be my X axis. Check. Of course, we talked about that this right here was the origin. That was important to us. And then finally, the review of how do we graph a coordinate on the coordinate plane. So if we graph this coordinate here, we're going to go to the left 3, and then we're going to go up 2. So we're going to start at the origin. We're going to go left 1, 2, 3, up 2. So this is the coordinate left 3, up 2, which is in quadrant number 2. Again, this is a review assignment, so I'm not doing a whole lot of instruction. It's just more of review. If you want to go back just to that coordinate plane lesson, that would be a good idea to do that if you need to do a whole lesson on that. So this is just our review from everything we did in the unit. So a little taste of every topic. The next topic we did was called modeling integers. How do we model on a number line? Well, we start at 0. We follow the direction. So in this case, we're going to start at 0. We're going to go left 2. Then we're going to go in the positive direction, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units. So that's how we would model that. And we can see that we finish at 3. So that's how we would model that example. Start at 0, left 2 plus 5. So -2 plus 5, finishing positions at 3. Likewise, you can pause the video at any time. You can practice. You can rewind. This is just a review. Start at 0. We're going to go left 2. And then we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more. So left 2 and 5 more to the left, going left and left again. The finishing position of that would be -7. -7. All right, down here then. Starting at 0, we're going to go right 3. We're going to come back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the finishing position on that would be -4. So start at 3, come back 7, finishing position on that is -4. So that's what we call model integers. All right, group, let's take a look at a different topic. How do we add and subtract integers? This is the strategy we called tug of war. So using that strategy, we're going to put people on teams. We're going to tug of war, see who has more power. So if we put 5 on team negative, 2 on team positive, again, this is review. So that's why it's going fast, and I'm not going through a ton of instruction. You can go back to any of those lessons and get that lesson all again. So -3 would be the result because there's 3 extra players on team negative. So we're going to tug of war these down here. And just a quick review of how do we do that again before we go into this unit test. All right, we have 8 players on team negative. We have 1 player on team negative. The result of that would be -9. You're going to have to pause the video to follow along. This one we could tug of war. They're all on team positive, but the answer, of course, to that would be just +10. Next problem. Here we go. So we start to put them on teams. We have 7 players on team negative. And then we have this situation of opposite of that sign. Take the opposite. That means opposite. That becomes a chop situation. So now we're going to put these 3 players on team positive after we chop. The result of that would be then -4. Cool. Why don't you try that last one? Why don't you pause the video, try that last one, make sure you're in good shape. Okay, you should be unpausing the video after you gave it a shot. We have 10 players on team positive. We have 5 players on team negative. This sign right here just means add. It doesn't say opposite. So we're not changing any signs because it doesn't say opposite. So simply just adding. The result of that would be +5. Team positive wins by 5 players. So that's the learning target of add, subtract integers. All right, moving to the next skill. Let's go to the skill called multiply, divide integers. When we did multiply and divide integers, we did this triangle method. So add, subtract is tug of war. Multiply is the triangle method. So in this first problem here, then, we know this means multiply, 2 parentheses hitting each other. So we have a -2 times a -3 is a +6. We have a +4 times a -6 is a negative, and then multiply the numbers is 24. Again, pause and rewind at any point. Now division works the same way. So we have a -20 divided by a +5. The result of the sign is negative, and 20 divided by 5 is 4. All right, so this last problem, we have a positive divided by positive. So we have a +28, we have a +7, and we go to our triangle and we realize that we don't have any more positive signs. What's going on? And that's where you realize, oh, duh. Positive divided by positive, of course, is just positive. So that answer to that would just be +4. Cool. All right. Next, I don't know what just happened to my computer there. The next skill here then would be all 4 operations. That was the next skill we did, is we put them all together and figured out, could we do it? Could we handle this? Now, this is going to be a pretty long video because we're reviewing the entire unit. So pause at any point. So first one would be a tug of war. So we have a +4. and a negative 10. Now there is a sign in the middle right here. There's a sign in the middle, but it does not say opposite. It says add. So the result of that would be negative, and we'd have 6 extra players, so negative 6. Next problem is a triangle problem. We have a negative 48, and we have a negative 8. So the sign of that is positive 6. Positive 6. Next problem is another triangle. We have a positive 9, a negative 3. The resulting sign of that is negative 27, triangle. Why don't you pause the video and try the next row? All right, you should be unpausing that video. You should have actually tried the next row. You should actually be trying it because we're going into a test here. We have a negative 9. We have a positive 5. The result of that sign is negative 4. Negative 4. Next sign, next problem is actually a triangle. Because remember, when we add, subtract, we tug of war. When we multiply, divide, we triangle. So we have a negative 21. We have a positive 7. The result of that is negative 3. Cool. Hopefully you got that one. Let's try this one. Let's see how you did. You should have tried it, right? So we have a positive 13. Boom. We have a negative 19. Now we do have a sign in the middle, but it says add. It just says add. It doesn't say opposite. So we're going to just keep those signs. Negative wins with 6 extra players. Hopefully you went 3 for 3 on that row. Check it out. See if you did okay. It keeps turning off. I'm not sure what's going on. Sorry about that. All right, so next row. In this next row, we're going to chunk these into 2 sections. So we have 2 triangle problems here. So when I do that, I get negative 4, positive 1. The result of that is negative 4. And down here, we have a negative 5, and a negative 5 is a positive 25. So the result of this becomes negative 100. Because if we triangle that, we get negative 100. And I'll show my work right here of the y. This is another triangle problem because it's multiplication. If we have so if I do it down here, we have a negative 4, a positive 25. The result of that would be, as I stated, a negative 100. So this problem right here becomes the final answer, negative 100. All right, next problem is an addition sign. When we add, we tug of war. So we have this add, subtract scenario. So we have 10. We have 14. And this sign right here says add. So we're not changing any signs. We're not going opposite. We're just adding them together. It becomes negative 24 players on team negative. They absolutely win. Team positive must have been scaredy pants. And last problem on this page on using all 4 operations. Let's tug of war this, see what happens. This first problem is a positive because we don't see a sign. So we have a positive 25. Cool, cool, cool. And we have a negative 35. Cool, cool, cool. Who's stronger? Negative. How many extra players? 10. Result of that is negative 10. Boom. Nice work. All right. So let's go to the next skill. Next skill is order of operations with these skills. All right. So we have a couple targets left. This is going to be a long video at this because we're reviewing the entire unit. All at once. Exponents are going to be involved in here. So we know that this is a PEMDAS problem for all of these because we see order of operations in there. Parenthesis first happens down here. And then we have my computer keeps shutting off. I don't know. So we also have a parenthesis in the numerator. Now we only have one number in there. So there isn't anything to do with that negative 7. We don't have any operation on the inside of the parentheses. So that's just going to go with us on multiplication. But in the bottom, I have a tug of war happening here. So we have 2 players on team positive, 5 players on team negative. So the result of that is negative 3 in the bottom. That would be negative 3. Cool. Now in the top, we have an exponent. We have 3 squared. So we have to do that. Now 3 squared is just 3 times 3. 3 times 3. That's 3 squared, right? 3 times 3. Not 3 times 2, 3 times 3. So that 3 squared, I'm going to undo that just so I have more room to write, is 9. That 3 squared is 9. So I have negative 7 times 9. All right, so cleaning that up then, this is a triangle problem. I didn't leave myself enough space here to write. That's a negative 7 on the top multiplied by a positive 9. So the result of that is negative 63. I'm going to erase this now. Come on, come on. Come on, eraser. You can do it. Divided by, because that's a fraction, right? All fractions are division signs, negative 3. Now, this step, if you need to use your calculator because you're not quite sure how to finish that up, that's totally understandable. But it's a division problem, so it's a triangle problem. So we have a negative 63, divide by a negative 3. The result of that is positive 21. Positive 21. Cool. All right, so go ahead and pause that video. Go back if you need to because that's some heavy, yucky stuff going on there. And then I'm going to have you write that problem up in the upper right-hand corner because that would be the next one that we do. I'm going to have to erase all of this just so I can start over. So why don't you go ahead and pause the video if you need to, rewind if you need to, write that problem in the upper right-hand corner. So go ahead and pause at this time if you need to, but I'm going to keep going. All right. So we see 2 parentheses in here. So we have our parenthesis here, which there's nothing really to do. When we have a parenthesis here, there's nothing really to do because each of those just has one number on the outside. We don't have an operation. So parentheses are kind of dead there. So the next step then, of course, would be to do the exponent. And the exponent we have is this one right here. And what that says is, it says that we need to take negative 5 and multiply it by itself, which becomes negative 5 times negative 5 is positive 25. Negative 5 times negative 5. Then we're going to subtract 28. And in the denominator, one thing I notice that's going to happen here is I'm going to have to chop that. So I'm going to do that right now before I rewrite. So then I have negative 6 plus 9 in the bottom. I'm going to move this problem out of the way for a minute just so I have some space to write. Cool. All right, so let's finish that up then. I might switch my stylus pen here and see if I have better luck with this smaller one. Struggling with this other one. All right, in the top then, all right, so we have a positive 25 compared to a negative 28. That would be negative 3 in a tug of war. And we have a negative 6 compared to a positive 9 would be positive 3. So the very last step then would be to take the triangle. So we have negative 3 divided by positive 3. The result of that is negative 1. Boom, done. Cool. All right, so we're at 18 minutes of the video. I'm a little hesitant. I think I'm going to skip this last one. I'm going to skip this last one for today. All right, let's go to the next skill on square roots. Probably won't get through all of these. Maybe we will. We'll see. I don't want to get too long on the video, but it is a review of everything. All right, so let's start with question number 2. So if you recall what this symbol means, it means it's a square root. So we're undoing the area of a square. So if we take question 2, the area of the square is 49. Our job is to figure out what's the side of the square. Well, in order to make a square that's 49, it has to be 7. 7 by 7. So the square root of 49 equals 7. But be very careful on this one because we have this sign here that means take the opposite of that. So that'd be negative 7. Boom. So I'm going to cut that one. I'm going to cut that one for now. So why don't you go ahead and try question 4. Go pause the video, give that one a shot. All right, so you should have tried that one. If we have a square that has an area of 4, that means its side is 2. We're going to take the opposite of that so we get negative 2. Cool. Now, sometimes we have order of operations on the inside that we have to take care of. So when we do that, we have 36. Like this one here, we have to do the inside first. So that's the square root of 36, actually. I'll undo that for you so you can see that quick. So if we look at what's there, we have 9 times 4, which is 36. Now we take the square root. When we take the square root of 36, we end up with just 6. I can't write it. We just take 6. So much for the smaller stylus. It's not working any better. Oh, there we go. There, that was beautiful. All right, boom. Question 6. Why don't you try question 6? Now remember, you have to do the inside first. 100 divided by 4. Go. Do it, do it, do it. All right, unpausing that video. 100 divided by 4. We have 4 quarters in a dollar, right? Boom. So we're really taking the square root of 25 because 100 divided by 4 is 25. So what's the square root of 25? Your answer should be 5. 5. Boom. All right, so how do we on inside of a problem? Sorry, my computer keeps shutting on. All right. This means multiplication. Make sure you put that there. Why don't you go ahead and write that one down? Pause it right now. Write that one down and then get back in the game. I'm going to keep going. So that would be the square root of 49 is 7. But this really is multiplication out here. Make sure you know that means multiply. It's not, it doesn't say it, but it's assumed that it's multiplication. So be careful on that. Multiplication happens first, which is 21. Then we add 5. So the result of that, when we say evaluate this expression, is we get 26. So that's a square root problem. Go ahead, pause video, rewind. Wow, the stylus was writing so nice on that one. Cool, let's go to this next one. Take the square root of 25. Okay, I get 5. Cool. And then it says, and then square it. Oh my gosh, I go right back to 25. That's craziness. Crazy, crazy, craziness. Working my way down here. Subtraction, I did things a little bit out of order. I guess not technically, mathematically wrong, but multiplication is the operation here. We take the square root of 16 is 4, and we have multiplication out here, so 4 times 4 with the subtraction sign sitting there. And we know 4 times 4 is 16. The very last step in PEMDAS is add, subtract. So then my very last step would be to subtract. We get 9. Again, please pause that video if that's confusing, you don't quite understand. It would be appropriate to pause the video at any time. So we have 2 more skills left that we did in Unit 1 on integers. Notice everything we're doing in here are positive, negative numbers without any parts. No parts in this lesson. So the last one is a review on order of operations with absolute value. So we already talked absolute value a little bit on comparing. So I'm going to skip that one. I'm going to skip that one. But maybe let's do this one right here. Why don't you go ahead and write that problem down? All right, on the inside of there, we have a tug of war happening. Looks like I put a decimal in there and I didn't mean to do that. I'm going to try to take it out. So we have a tug of war happening here. So we put all these players together. We have 4 players on team negative, 5 players on team negative. So the result of that is 9 players on team negative. Now we're just asking how far away are we from 0 with these symbols right here? How far from 0? Answer would be 9 units away from 0. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Now this problem up here, we have 12 minus 5, or 17 minus 5 is 12. Cool. And in the denominator, we have 2 minus 5, which is negative 3. All of that is in absolute value bars. All right. And then we have a triangle problem here. So we have positive 12 divided by negative 3. The result of that is negative, I need space to write here, negative 4 is on the inside of that. So the problem I was solving was this problem, this division problem right here using this triangle, which gave me negative 4. Now that's still in the absolute value bars. So the result of that problem would be positive 4. Positive 4. Cool. And let's try one more on this page, perhaps. Let's just do this one since I have space to write. So once you pause the video, give that one a shot. Then we're going to do a couple word problems, and then we're out of the review. Reminder, you have a test coming up on this, so make sure that you are working on each one of these individual skills. So pause the video, do the circled problem, and we're going to come back. All right, you should have unpaused the video. Remember, this works like a parenthesis almost. It's a grouping symbol, so you do have to do that step first. So we take the absolute value of negative 2, we get 2. And then we have this triangle problem sitting right here, where we multiply a positive 3 times a negative 8, which results in negative 24. And the last step then would be to tug of war this. Who's stronger? Which team is stronger? Team negative. How many extra players? 22 extra players. Hopefully you got that one right. So I skipped a bunch of those on that page just because it's going to get super long. All right, and the last problems of the day are the word problems that go with this lesson. All right. If it is negative 25 degrees in Rantoul and it's 75 degrees in Honolulu, what is the difference in temperature between the two cities? So what we're really saying is, if we think of a thermometer and we have 75 degrees here, and we have negative 25 degrees here, and we just look at it pictorially with a picture, what's the difference in the temperature? Visually, you should be able to see that is a 100-degree change from the two cities. Lots of kids want to say 50 degrees, but if you visually look at the difference or the distance between those, you can see it's pretty significant. And if we were to subtract those, let's say negative 25 minus 75, because we're using the word difference, well, that's the absolute value of negative 100. So we would still say it's a 100-degree difference. Either way, we subtract those. All right. So I want you to try that next one with that same idea. Why don't you try drawing a picture and look for the difference? So you should have tried that. And now I want you to unpause the video now. An architectural drawing of a building shows the elevation of the basement floor to be at negative 12 feet. So if this is 0, we're at negative 12 feet. The elevation of the roof is at 32 feet. What is the distance between those? So the total distance here between those, you can see is really, it's 32 from that distance and then 12 more, right? So your answer should really be it's a distance of 44 feet. Another way to think of it is 32 minus 12 feet, which if we chop that, we still get that absolute value of 44 feet. Either way, you can see it in a picture that it's a distance of 44 feet, but this is the math that's involved of the why. Why is that happen? All right, so that completes the lesson on integers, positive and negative numbers without any parts. I hope you're ready for the test. Please reach out if you have any questions on anything. Have a glorious night.